say a few things. Certainly, it's often, I believe, the sign of an open community when voters are engaged in an election. A school board election gives school communities the opportunity to have some of those critical conversations and provides some of that necessary energy that we need to complete the work we do here in this school, in the schools. So this is a testament to that energy. We're going to see that tonight with our candidates, and we certainly appreciate all those, again, citizens and community stakeholders in this community who have come out in support of these individuals. So, on behalf of PTO, welcome to our Smith and PTO's meet and greet for the Board of Education candidates. Each candidate will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to inform you, the voters, of their reasons for running for election. Candidates will present in the order they will appear on your ballot in April. Each candidate has written their own introduction, which will be read by me before they speak. And we will begin with Jake Keeshan. So I'd like to introduce Jake Keeshan. Jake is a 2000 graduate of Smithton, and he and his wife Ashley have 3 kids that attend Smithton Elementary. Their kids are the 6th generation to grow up in Smithton, in the Smithton School District. Jake is actively involved in the Boys and Girls Club, Smithton Youth Sports, Paul Clover Soccer, Smithton Fair Board, and 4-H. His business, Jake's Creative Woodworks, is a proud sponsor and supporter of many other organizations. Please welcome Jake to the podium.
First, I want to say thanks to the PTO and the school for making this event happen, and thank you all for coming out to show your support. Let me tell you a little more about myself. I was born and raised in Smithton and attended school K through 12. I was involved in many activities, but mainly soccer. I was fortunate enough to play at the college level, but soon realized that college was not for me, especially after failing public speaking. I then returned home at the age of 20 and started my own business. I've experienced many struggles along the way, but I've managed to have substantial growth for the past 20 years, and I've become very successful in my industry. As Mr. Bray said, for the past 10 plus years, I've been actively involved in the Boys and Girls Clubs, as a board member, and with several other organizations that are strictly focused on youth development. My involvement in these organizations have taught me how to properly communicate and work with others to achieve real results. On this journey, I've realized the importance for preparing our youth for the future. Therefore, I want to become a board member so that I can be actively involved in the education process and help in a more impactful way. In every organization, there is always room for improvement. In my experience, proper communication is the key to being successful. I will listen to the entire community and take your ideas and concerns back to the board so that we can discuss and implement change. If elected to the board, I will bridge gaps, build relationships between students, parents, staff, administration, and the board. I know that our school board is addressing teacher retention and recruitment plans, and as an employer myself, I have the experience and I know the importance of taking care of all staff members in all positions. Also, as I've said before, this school must continue to produce college or career-ready students. College is appropriate for many students, so it's very important to have challenging programs and a strong college track. I'm not an educator, so I will listen to teachers. I will help provide them with resources needed to further education. After graduation, it is just as important for students to enter the workforce. I will work to advise and build upon workforce-related programs so that students can be better prepared for the world that awaits. After all, a large portion of this community works in agriculture or construction-related industries, and believe me, there are meaningful and fulfilling jobs available right here locally. As a board member, I will have high expectations. I will hold staff and students accountable for their results, but most importantly, I will not exploit any shortcomings because when it comes to this school, success is measured in so many different ways. A statistic or two will never define what it means to be a Smith and Tiger. School spirit and pride is at a high level. Look around. We have a community that shows up. We have passionate teachers, coaches, and students who continue to excel in countless programs, not just athletics. Our teachers and staff work hard, and they are never content because their results are taken personally. They are always looking for new and improved teaching methods so that they can better prepare our students for the future. I've had conversations with teachers who express thoughts and ideas on areas that need improved, so if elected to the board, I'll be able to hit the ground running. There's no doubt that we face many obstacles, but as long as we continue to show up with the dedication to make change and work together as a team, this school will always come out on top. In closing, my goal is to be the voice of the community and do everything I can to ensure that all students have the same great education and experiences that I had when I was here. I'm proud to be in this school district, and though this school isn't mine, I feel like it's my turn to step up and continue our school's success. I'm not going anywhere, so whether I'm elected to the school board or not, I will continue to be a leader, a helper, and a role model in this community. Please show up on April 5th and vote for me. Thank you guys for your continued support.
All right, our next candidate is Mr. Jason Brown. Jason Brown attended Smith School from grades K-12 and graduated in 1995. He received an Associate of Arts from State Fair Community College and a Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education in the area of Social Studies from the University of Central Missouri in 1999. He taught 7th grade Social Studies in Moberly, Missouri, before taking a position with the Social Security Administration in Sedalia. Since 2005, he has served as the office manager. He met his wife Melissa while attending UCM. They have 3 boys, Trevor, Eli, and Baxter, and 1 daughter, Izzy. He has been actively involved in multiple school community activities such as coaching youth sports, baseball, volleyball, and basketball, the Smith and Fair Board, and Alumni Banquet Committee. He has been on the Board of Education for the past 9 years, serving as the president since 2016. Please welcome Jason Brown to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for attending tonight. I appreciate it. Also, I'd like to extend my thanks to the Smith and PTO for the opportunity tonight. I'm going to discuss with you some of the reasons why I'm running for another term on the Board of Education. I'm going to share with you a couple of personal attributes that I believe I have demonstrated as a board member. I'm going to discuss several issues that I'm going to focus on and provide you a little bit of an overview of my understanding of board governance. So first of all, I believe in a growth mindset. As a board member, I've committed to learning all I can about educational issues that affect Smith schools. This means I have spent hours of study on board packets, researching current issues affecting our students in our school, and learning about issues that might change due to upcoming and pending legislation. If we expect our teachers, our students, and our administrators to learn, then as a board member, I must also demonstrate a passion for learning. As a board member, it's important to be a strong listener. Throughout my past years, I've made it a habit to listen to others. I've had many discussions with students, parents, teachers, administrators, board members, board candidates, community members about all kinds of different school-related issues. Sometimes I found myself in agreement, and sometimes not. But regardless, I've always demonstrated an honest desire to hear opinions and truly consider the information I'm presented with. I am passionate about providing the best education for every one of our students here at Smith. Every personnel decision, every program review, every budget that passed has a direct impact on providing the best educational opportunities for our students. Looking forward, there are several issues that I want to address in the upcoming years. First, we must keep a focus on academic growth and success. I will continue to request student growth and success data be a part of every board meeting. Each year, our board establishes yearly expectations for the superintendent. I'm going to continue to encourage our board to include an element of student achievement as part of the superintendent evaluation process. Second, I want to continue our focus on literacy issues for our students, especially early literacy programs. Studies have shown that third grade has been identified as the final year that children are learning to read. After that, they read to learn. It is imperative that we can make sure our students have a strong foundation in reading. Third, we must continue to find ways to engage and encourage involvement from our entire community. To that end, I will work to promote our entire school community be involved with the upcoming CSIP, which is the Continuous School Improvement Plan. This community-driven document will continue to be the guiding source for our schools in the future. We all know student input is powerful. I will also bring a request to the board to create a student advisory group. I would like for this to be a group of students who can bring forth ideas and play a part in telling the board what they feel is important in their education. Fourth, I will continue to promote teacher recruitment and retention issues. We must continue to focus on doing the best we can to compensate our teachers and staff. Each year we have to be realistically competitive with our conference schools by continuing to be in the top 3 for salary and insurance benefits. I will continue to encourage our cadet teacher program, as well as look into the possibility of creating a new Grow Your Own teacher program for our school. I will continue to be an advocate for increased funding from the state to help grow our teaching salaries by contacting state legislatures and requesting their support in these areas. Finally, I wanted to share with you a view about my understanding and opinion of board governance. Being on the local board of education is a unique experience. It's the most local form of government and is closest to the people that we serve. The role is different than most other type of elected officials. An individual board member themselves do not have direct authority, but are one of 7 who work together to come to a consensus on educational issues for our school. It's not the same type of governance as you've seen with presidents or governors or members of Congress and the legislature. Another important feature of the Board of Education is that it's a nonpartisan office. You absolutely cannot make the best decisions for kids if you are looking through a partisan lens. Over the last 9 years, I've grown to understand just how effective a Board of Education can govern when the viewpoints of all 7 members are utilized to represent the collective voice of our community. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate your vote on April 5th. And if anyone wants a baby sign, yellow baby signs, I got a few left. Thank you.
Our next candidate is James Trio. James is a proud 2003 graduate of Smith School. His wife, Amanda, graduated in the same class and is the elementary art teacher here at Smith. They have 2 children in the district, Emily, a freshman, and Mason, a 6th grader. He holds a bachelor's degree in English and brings a strong background in leadership. He is a co-owner and vice president of Parkhurst Manufacturing Company, overseeing the finance, HR, and IT roles. He has experience managing a $7 million budget, building positive workplace culture, and leading through challenging and uncertain times. He has served on other nonprofit boards. He was on the Liberty Center Association for the Arts Board for several years and chair for 2 years through a major capital campaign. He sits on the Leadership Council for the Smith United Methodist Church and was chair for 2 years. Also, he currently sits on 2 advisory committees for State Fair Community College, Welding and Engineering Design Technology. He and Amanda attribute the success they've had in life to the foundation they built at Smith. Please welcome James to the podium.
Amanda and I, we do attribute the success we've had in our life to the foundation we built here. And, but the foundational message of my campaign has been this, that the school we remember is not the school we're sending our kids to today. If you ask anyone around who the best school is in our conference, the answer is always Colgate or Lincoln. It's not Smithton anymore. And while some are still unwilling to recognize it, we aren't on a positive path by any measure. And it's going to take energy, passion, creative thinking, and bold leadership to change this downward trend and rise to the challenges that we're facing in our school today. Traditional methods are failing us, and we need to take a creative approach. Brian Carnegie and I are clearly the only two candidates that bring that perspective. We need to start by rebuilding a positive culture. This can't continue to be just a school for the kids that have the right last name, or for those that are the star athletes, or for those whose parents seem to be yelling the loudest. It's time to include those who have been forgotten. We need a school where all teachers that want to come to work, where all students look forward to a positive experience, and where all parents feel their input is valued. And that's going to start with improving communication. Our board is disengaged. Okay, leaders, listen. Our board is not listening. I can tell you in the past 9 weeks, I have had more messages, phone calls, texts from concerned parents and constituents and students than this entire board collectively for the last 9 years. You know, nobody feels there's anyone they can talk to about an issue, about fear of consequences. That's a product of poor culture. I think we need to have some open channels of communication. I've got some ideas that I'm happy to share later. We need to refocus on high quality academics. That has got to be the absolute heart of this school. We need to work towards a culture of high expectations that provide opportunities for all students to experience their potential and be prepared for life after school. You know, we're so quick often to intervene at an early age for struggling students, but we continue to leave our advanced learners behind. I would like to build and launch an advanced enrichment program that will target the top 5 to 10% of our learners so that they can be challenged and that potential isn't lost. And we need to incorporate more advanced coursework in the high school so we can prepare our kids for a higher level of education should they have that aspiration. You know, college isn't for everybody, but we can't use that as an excuse to unprepare our kids, which is what continues to happen. And we need to address some performance issues. We're performing below state average and other conference schools in most subject areas. In state testing last year, we moved from 2nd place to 6th place. We need to look at that. And to accomplish anything, we're going to have to have great teachers. You know, over 20% of our teachers and 50% of our counselors and administrators are leaving at the end of this year or actively interviewing for another job. You know, we've got to strengthen our retention efforts. You know, we're dangerously close, in my opinion, to having a school that we're not going to be able to staff. Culture is a big part of that. But you know, Sedalia is a 5-minute drive, and we've got to compete with Sedalia. And it's going to take a creative and non-traditional approach. And we've got some ideas. Brian's got some great ideas, actually, that I think will change the entire game. But there are things we can do that don't cost anything. We can start removing some of the non-educational tasks from our teachers' plates. We can have a board that will hold our administrators accountable for consistently enforcing discipline so our teachers can focus on teaching. You know, we can't continue to have one set of rules for some and another completely different set for everyone else. I just don't accept that Smithton is the best it can be. That's why I'm running for school board. I reject complacency, and I believe we can do much better, and I believe our kids deserve that. And I will say, looking at this room, that I do hope that everybody sticks around and talks to all the candidates. And I really hope that you'll take the time to meet Brian Carnegie. I will tell you, if I had one vote for this election, it would go to him. We haven't seen a candidate in the history of this school that brings the intellect, the ingenuity, the vision, the leadership, or the passion that he does. But passion always gets misconstrued, doesn't it? And especially in a small town, the rumors, they fly pretty quickly. But I know that you'll get to meet him, and you know him like I do. And if you know kind of the type of friend that he is, the type of father he is, the husband that he is, you'll realize there's not a man that could care more in this world about the kids here or the future of this school. Look, school board elections, they are the most important elections in our country today. And I hope everybody will take this one seriously and elect candidates that are best equipped to make decisions for our kids' education. Thanks.
She was a 1998 graduate of Smithton, and her name still hangs in our gymnasium as the captain of our volleyball team, whose only loss came in the state championship game. Brian was also a team captain in high school where he played football, basketball, and baseball and received all conference, all district, and all St. Louis suburban South honors. They met at Lindenwood University as scholarship athletes and have 3 bachelor's degrees between them in finance, criminal law, and psychology. Lindsay continued her education to receive a master's in math education from Missouri Baptist, and they decided to bring their twin boys into our district after kindergarten at neighboring Sedalia 200. Now in the 6th grade, Cole Cash Carnegie have each received our Student Respect Award every single year and have remained straight A students while being standout 3-sport athletes. After college, Brian earned a very coveted pilot slot in the United States Air Force that was eventually disrupted by an automobile accident. While waiting in the medical appeal with the Air Force Surgeon General, he worked for St. Louis County Police, where he received multiple accommodations from both his department, Riverview Gardens, and Ferguson for creative, quick thinking during a hostage situation involving a murder suspect. He and Lindsay also received a unique gift basket from the entire 3rd floor nursing staff at Orange Jewish for his idea to triangulate cell towers and get officers to deploy alert tones on different interstates until hearing one ambiently on her cell that was still active with 911. After 3 hours, they were able to locate the unconscious nurse who finished her shift at midnight near her overtime vehicle in the Missouri River. Once officially PDQ'd from the Air Force, he quickly ran through the ranks of his aviation career, where he made airline captain at only 28 years of age. His training record and decision-making during a night while his United Airlines jet was on fire and making an emergency descent into LaGuardia Airport with 53 souls on board enabled him to be recruited and selected into his current position. He is in his 15th year operating a private jet internationally for Warren Buffett's NetJets and would love to bring his creative thinking ability and vast experience with policy and procedure to our school board. Please welcome Brian to the podium.
Stories for everyone to hear that we could talk about later. What I would like to do is maybe rectify a few misconceptions about me. There seems to be this rumor going around that I grew up with some silver spoon, and couldn't be more untrue. I had a very tough upbringing. Taken from my home from the authorities multiple times, bounced around with a whole bunch of foster people, lived with my grandparents multiple times. I was a janitor at my own high school, before and after school, and all summer long, starting at the age of 14 years old. I jokingly talk about the greatest summer I ever had. For the older people in the room, it seems like there were these rectangle pizzas that you would get at school. Yeah, well, the cooks felt bad for me because I ate 2 meals a day at my school. I got free breakfast, free lunch. And one day they gave me the greatest gift ever, a trash bag full of those pizzas that I slung over my shoulder, walked home, and ate the greatest summer of my life. I did have a couple things fall my way. First off, when I was very young in the 1st grade, I had a teacher, I remember her looking at me, asking me to recite this stuff. She walks me down to the end of this hall. That led to the gifted teacher talking to me. They gave me an initial IQ exam, that went from there. They thought my test score, they had to give a different proctor because of that. And I spent years in the gifted and talented education program back there. Between that and sports enabled me to go to college where I met my beautiful wife as an athlete. That same gate teacher, when I went in the Air Force, wrote a letter on my behalf, which helped get me into that difficult slot that I received. 2 years after college, while I was battling with Air Force stuff and courting that beautiful Smithton girl, worked in the classroom. I was a full-time tutor at one school district about the size of Sedalia 200, and I was then brought in to run a reentry school. I coached basketball for St. Charles High School, and I ran the reentry school for kids that were suspended 45 days or more. It was just myself, a para, and a psychologist. I think I was there more for muscle at the time, but regardless, I ran it. Since then, I've taught in both cockpits, I've taught in ground schools, I taught at Flight Safety International to a whole bunch of airline pilots who I'm sure are smarter than me. The courses that I specifically taught helped curriculum for advanced decision making, leadership ability, crew resource management, which involves something called active listening. It's a practice that it seems like needs to be used more often in elections like this. Here recently I was called up by a teacher here who found out I was a pilot. She didn't even know I was a pilot. I wear a sign on me that says pilot. And she said there's a senior who thinks he might want to be an airline pilot. So I spent a couple of days with him. The kid was sharp. He could speak. He wasn't stuck in his phone. I was so impressed with this young man. I went to Warrensburg, helped him out. I talked to the director of aviation over there. I was able to get him in the cockpit of a jet the second day. But the thing about it wasn't a photo opportunity for me. It wasn't something that then we wanted to play somewhere. I never even thought about that. This is just me helping a kid. It's just like a couple of years ago when I would come in here and mentor for the school district for Mrs. Mormon. Just me wanting to help a kid who might have came from a background like I came from. I do have some ideas. First off, we have nearly $1 million of ESSER 3 funds that are going to be coming in, and they have to fall into a certain category. One of the ideas that was talked about at the school board was tutoring. Well, I know something about that. I know that you cannot take a kid with the same teacher in the same environment after an 8-hour day and expect reinforced learning. You're going to need a new face. I've got ideas for how to make tutoring work, but this is flawed from the start, this idea. I think we need a social worker back in the school. I think that is going to enable a guidance counselor to actually help seniors see that there's a whole big world out there. Because 31% of Smithton seniors taking the ACT isn't good enough for me. I mean, we had 95% at Lincoln, we had 91% at Cold Camp, we had 97% out in Green Ridge, 75% at Otterville, which is the state average, and they're hitting play on a Rosetta Stone app for foreign language. The last thing I'd like to say is I have an idea, besides school board reforms I'll talk about later. I know I'm getting ran out of here. I have another idea where I'd like to restructure pay scales for teachers. Our teachers are woefully underpaid, and they are overworked, mundane details, doing things that have zero intrinsic value. And that's the bottom line. I believe, and I spoke to someone just today from the public school education retirement systems who believes, she said she's never heard an idea like this. It's going to take some bureaucracy, but it could be done. To pay at the very end of the 36-month notice and structure our pay scale much like I have in a collective bargaining agreement at work. We have to get out of this traditional education mindset. And that's where James and I come in. We bring that, and we have the intellect. We have the same passion that Mr. Brown does, and we would like to be here. The last thing I'll say is, I think that we as a community are running into something that I used to write a paper about. You can look at proximity principles and psychology, you can talk about sociology, but there's a specific cognitive bias called the backfire effect. And what it does is it works alongside the law of primacy, but you hear something initially, and then you don't want to hear anything else. Well, Smithton used to be this, this, and this, so it must still be. I want to bring it back to that. My kids are here. But a lot of people don't want to hear the truth because they're stuck with that cognitive bias. Let's try to get out of it.
All right, so once again, I want to thank, on behalf of the school, thank everyone for coming out this evening and being engaged in this election, and I look forward to everyone coming out to the polls on April 5th, certainly to support the school. That does conclude our candidate speeches, and the PTO wants to thank all of our candidates and guests for coming this evening, and ask that you please feel free to to speak with candidates as you wish, and enjoy refreshments provided by the PTO.